Welcome back, everybody, where the headlines are made up and the points don't matter. Do you know what show that's from? Sort of?
No.
Whose line is it anyway? I was watching some of that last night.
Oh, that's pretty good.
But it's like where the jokes are made up and the points don't matter. I don't even know what Drew Carey says. Anyways, we're back. The world
It's like the American version of Whose Line Is It Anyways, which actually probably features some of the British originals, if I remember correctly. I've not really watched the show, but
it's at this point there's like the really old version, which was the good one that had like Colin Mockery, Ryan Stiles, Wayne Brady.
Wow.
Gosh,
Wayne Brady. I'm thinking more. I mean, there was this show originated in the UK, like
yes, it
British. Did. Yeah. Anyhow, okay, it's okay. I never watched it, so I can't.
Yeah, some of the old stuff's pretty good. I don't even know how I got on it. It was just on YouTube, and I just got whatever. I
will say I did observe at one point that the true mark of a comedic genius is someone who can just come up with stuff on the fly.
Yep.
And whatever you think of this guy, I mean, back in the 1980s, I saw Billy Crystal live, like a stand-up show. Mm-hmm. And the second half of his show, he just grabs the mic, walks down into the audience, and just starts interacting with people.
Yep.
And it was unbelievable. Like, just genius. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, these guys who do, like, Whose Line Is It Anyway, have to have that kind of ability, right? I mean, so they're probably truly... Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah,
no,
special.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, right. I mean, special. Yeah, I guess we can call it different things, but yeah, so that's good.
Talent, if you will. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
Anyways, did you play Halo 3? Is that what you were doing?
I have, yeah. Not too far into it, actually. So, like Microsoft provided it to reviewers, like on Steam. Mm-hmm. Like, I think because, it's weird, right? Like, it's a Microsoft game on Steam, but... I mean, really, what I want to do is play this on Xbox, and by Xbox I mean Xbox Live. Like,
yep.
So I think I'm actually gonna start over now and just play it on. I mean, I'll play it on the PC, but I'll play it through Xbox because it's available if you have an Xbox Game Pass or if you previously purchased the the Master Chief Collection through Xbox on PC. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting. I think the more interesting thing about it is I went back and I published a thing about what I'd written about it at the time, and rereading that, I was like, yeah, okay, right. I remember it being criticized when it came out for not being like graphically incredible compared to its predecessor. But one of the reasons they held back, especially in multiplayer, was it actually, this is weird to think about this now, it featured 4-person cooperative play on one device. So they couldn't bump up the graphics too far because it would just be unplayable,
Yeah.
And so they went for frame rate over graphical quality. But I mean, whatever. I mean, that was supposed to be the end of the trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Not so much.
Yeah, they've done like 18 of them since then. Like the Star Wars movies.
Yeah. They'll find ways to milk that goat. I mean, that's.
Yeah. You gotta.
Yeah. And then also yesterday, like 10 seconds after we finished the podcast, Microsoft, it's not a huge announcement. They just kind of detailed some of their Xbox Velocity architecture advances, which primarily just comes down to we put more hardware on the board to do more things, and we got better throughput.
Yeah, like a lot better throughput.
Yeah, a lot better.
Although you got to look at what they're comparing it to, because sometimes they compare it to like Xbox One X, and then sometimes you see a big number and they're comparing it to the original Xbox One. But They should have said something about this, but and maybe I guess they don't on purpose, but I think this announcement was meant to counter Sony's big claim for the PlayStation 5 has been like, okay, well, maybe we're behind on these things, but the thing that's going to put this over the top is like the storage throughput.
Yeah.
And they've got some kind of next-gen SSD that's supposed to be crazy fast and better than anything in the market. I think Microsoft was trying to show like, yeah, we get that stuff too.
Yeah, I'm on board with that hypothesis because... I think it's pretty close to accurate, and
yeah, that's it. And whatever, and like a lot of people, like, I don't understand what they're saying anymore. Like they're just talking about how, like,
it's in the weeds.
This part over here is really fast, and hey, look, this thing's really fast, and it's.
So, and this is me shooting from the hip, which, that's, I think that the subhead of my LinkedIn resume is Brad Sam shooting from the hip.
The Q scene from Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One of the things they've pitched with the Xbox, the Series X, is this constant performance benchmark, right? It's not variable. It's just they have a throughput, and it's going to hit that at all times. And so what I think they did was they found the performance benchmark and then just optimized everything to that exact level, which is where the SSD comes in and everything else, right? So it wouldn't have made sense to either put a faster or slower drive in because they had to hit a certain benchmark consistently. And so that's just kind of it.
I don't know how I feel about that because I feel like things change. And when you move forward, I don't remember where the drop off was when they went from like hard drives to SSDs and Xbox. But I mean, one of the things that held back the 360 was the speed of the hard drive. And over time, it's like, well, if you'd gone with you had to go with a 4,800 RPM drive, seriously.
Well, yeah, that was,
or whatever it was.
Brilliant move.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. We will see. I'm not really too worried about it. I'm not losing sleep over. It's going to be 60 frames per second, and that's.
No, it's going to be great.
Yeah,
I think they're both going to be great. The PlayStation is going to be great.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. No one's dying here. No one's.
Not because of this.
Yeah, not because. Yeah, because there's many other reasons that you might just perish from this planet, but the performance of your next generation console is not going to be it. So.
Right. Yep.
And then also yesterday, when I saw the email come through from Wags, I got another thought on this from Wags, and I saw Citrix and Microsoft in the headline. I for sure thought it was Microsoft enters into agreement to buy Citrix, like everybody else on the planet. But they announced.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But they announced that it's a little confusing because Citrix is now going to become the preferred like digital workspace for Microsoft. That they're
preferred.
Yeah.
And then, this is the thing. Announcement isn't actually that big, but go on.
And then on the flip side, Citrix is going to move, which sounds like a much bigger deal, all of their pretty much on-premises workloads and customers over to Azure when they're ready to migrate or whatever.
Yeah. So the backstory to this goes back to the 1990s. Citrix is, or at least was, based in Florida. I don't know why that's relevant, but they're unique among the companies that have kind of come of age in the Microsoft era. They competed directly with things that Microsoft was doing. They were there first, for whatever that's worth. But Microsoft, at some point, like Apple does today with features they put in the Mac or whatever, they look out at what their partners are doing, and they're like, oh, that's a feature that should be in Windows in this case. And so terminal services and what became remote desktop and what became Windows Virtual Desktop, et cetera, were all takes on what Citrix was doing. And during this entire time, it was like they're either going to put this company out of business or they're going to buy them, Yep. And by the way, I'm talking for 25 years, like this has been going on. And that's never happened. And the theory, and again, this is like from 25 years ago. It's like, does Citrix have dirt on Bill Gates or something? Like what? No, like how have they escaped the wrath? Although it's worth pointing out that there were other things that happened in the interim. I think the big one would be virtualization. VMware kind of owns that market still. When Microsoft put Hyper-V into Windows, the thought was, well, now VMware is dead. There's nothing they can do about that, but they survived. I cannot explain Citrix, but the other thing that makes it weird is they have consistently partnered on things. So like I asked Mary Jo about the story. I was like, so what is new here? A lot of this looks similar to, I can't tell what's new. And she had asked Microsoft to comment on that because she also couldn't figure it out. She's like, she sent them the thing she wrote a year ago, and she said, this looks like exactly the same announcement from a year ago. What's different? And I think the one thing that's different is what you just said. It's the Citrix has said that it will migrate its on-prem workloads to Azure. But I don't know if that means like Citrix running on Azure.
Yeah,
it must, right? Anyway, this company has always been a confusion. So, you see, it's like when you see something trending on, you see like Tom Hanks is trending on Twitter, and you're like, oh my God, is he dead?
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, he's just talking about some movie or something. And you see Citrix and Microsoft, you're like, okay, finally. No. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yep. So, other things happening. Stardock Curtains, which we've talked about here a little bit, is now, I believe, like just generally available. I think that's what the announcement was.
Yep. $10. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's, and I don't have it on this computer yet. I'll probably do it today. I put it on my the laptop I usually use, is like that XP Luna theme. I had come to loathe that for some reason in the Windows XP timeframe. And remember, they only had those 3 color choices. One of them was olive green, which was horrible, and then the silver one. And then over time, eventually they had like a Zune theme, and they had like a media center theme.
Yep.
Royale, I think it was called. But they were supposed to have all these themes. They never really did. And I always kind of wanted to get away from that green and blue, play school kind of UI. But I look at it like in the Windows 10 context, it looks nice. I know.
Does it?
Subjectively.
This is like when we look back on time, it's like, where did Paul start to lose it? I think we can pinpoint right about now.
Right, XP Luna.
I will say one thing that I do hope that Microsoft changes, and it's because I realized how nice it looks in Curtains. They replaced the start button icon, which is a Windows 8 legacy sort of like angled looking thing, with just the classic Microsoft logo, just the 4 boxes. And it looks so much better. So much better. So
the other thing they do on some of the themes is they bleed off of it. So like obviously that thing is a concrete button, but there's if it was styled green or something, the green could kind of fade into the blue in the taskbar. So the first taskbar icon is mostly green, the next one is half green, half blue, and then but it's just a nice effect,
Yep.
The other thing, by the way, to point out about this, a lot of people have asked, isn't this just Windows blinds all over again? And thematically, pardon the pun, it is in a way. But the reason that this thing is really interesting is because it takes advantage of the underlying technology in Windows 10 that supports dark and light themes. Yep. So they can integrate it at a much lower level. It only works in Windows 10, of course, but which means it's stabler. So if you ever used like window blinds, like sometimes it would like flicker or like it would screw up or part of it wouldn't be right or whatever. Like this, like they're using what Microsoft uses.
Yeah.
So it's really stable. It's nice. And, it has to conform it, you can't do it. It can't support like Aero Glass or whatever, because that's a different type of display, but they're using the display technology that is used for this flat Windows 10 UI. I think it's neat. I mean, if you liked window blinds, but you were kind of put off by it because it didn't work that great or whatever, like this is stabler. Is that a word?
Yeah.
More stable.
I will say that just be aware that when you do like pick a theme, it takes like 30 seconds for it to kind of pop and get up and running.
Go everywhere. Yeah, sometimes you'll see like the window will go, but the taskbar will be the old one, and then. But once it gets in, once it's like basically installed or whatever terminology you want to use, it's fine. Yep.
So,
yeah, it works good.
Yeah, and then it sounds like the luck of the Irish. They found a pot of Apple Cash at the end of the rainbow.
Well, actually, so as so what happened? Sorry, the European Commission had alleged that Ireland created a tax shelter for Apple, and that Apple owed Ireland $14.9 billion in back taxes, right? So Ireland fought this, and they won on appeal. Now, this could be appealed again by the EC. We'll see if they do that. But as the the European Commissioner noted, I don't know why Ireland is celebrating this. They still owe $14.9 billion in taxes. It just means that now the Irish people will have to pay the bill. Like The problem is Apple took advantage of what is essentially a legal loophole in the tax system. So what Apple did was technically not, it's technically not illegal. It should be, right? They still didn't pay the taxes. They still put money there not to pay taxes. That's what they did. So the EEC is like, well, I guess you could celebrate this as a victory, but we're going to collect the money somehow. So it's just. God, you hate to see stuff like this, but oh well.
Yeah, it's anyways.
But now Apple can afford the iPhone settlement, so they'll be all set.
We should create a drink just called the Double Irish.
The double,
probably like Guinness with like a shot of like
Bailey's,
something else.
Right. I think those drinks exist.
I'm sure they do. But, drunk people mixing alcohols, that never happens.
Especially in Ireland, it's like a Bass Ale and a Guinness combined is something like, and the Guinness kind of filters down to the other one. It's like oil and water.
Yeah. Jaeger bombs. What is it? Red Bull and Jaeger. So
Right.
also known as a staple of my college career.
Right. The fuel that powered your college career.
Fueled something.